Being mattress bound, his back and bottom have become victim to bed sores, red and raw. So when a nurse checks in, we get him into a wheelchair so she can put some sort of padding beneath the sheets. He's easier to lift with the help of another, but he moans like a mantra the entire time. Oh, oh. Me worried we're breaking his chest open. I gauge my concern against the nurse's apparent lack thereof and tailor it accordingly. Onto the mattress, she unrolls this thick foam rubber cushion with craters in it that are supposed to allow his skin to breathe better, then remakes the bed while I sit doing nothing and feeling bad for it. After, she dusts his stinging, sore-speckled back with talcum powder, and together we hoist him back into bed. But this time he panics completely. Oh, oh, me afraid for him, while the undaunted nurse single-handedly heaves him onto the mattress, his face buried in her chest. Once in place, he starts shaking uncontrollably. I shouldn't have my face in your breasts, he says, shaky voice to the nurse, causing me to cringe. But angelically, she takes it in stride and consoles him not to worry about it. In a short while, he falls into a fitful sleep. I pull all the covers up around him, but he still shivers ridiculously, the whole bed vibrating with it, his brows furrowed to show no relief from his stress even in slumber, gasping periodically in a panic, sometimes another "oh" from what awful world he is in. I remind myself that he alone is responsible for all this, that his body has suffered years of abuse and neglect, despite countless cautions from fate to clean up his act and listen to the needs of his spirit before it became corrupted by all the bad choices he'd made. But in fact, this doesn't make me feel the least bit better. He's still just a man, and therefore as worthy of sympathy as any of us. I lay my hand gingerly on the lumpy, sheet-covered shape of him, then touch his whiskered face with more delicacy than I have shown him in all my life. A futile effort, supposed to send some small, silent reassurance. I forgive you, I say aloud to my sleeping father, the saddest man I've ever known. Then add, I hope you'll forgive me. I tell myself that I can let go, that this is happening whether I'm ready or not. So now, what will I make of it? Waves of regret rush through me for failing to have made better use of the moments I've spent with the man. Sorry I didn't insist that he share his secrets with me, his hopes and fears and his own regrets. I sit for another full hour with my hand resting on him before deciding to head home, just trying to send him my sympathy and concern however I can. But he doesn't wake up, and the shaking never stops. It takes forever to find my way out of the building, but once I pass through the doors into the parking lot, I feel so happy it shames me. The sun beating down brightly, and the sky a cerulean blue having nothing to do with the suffering inside a hospital. I walk to where my mom's car is parked, but don't get in. Not yet. I simply lean back on the sun-hot hood to soak up some of that light kept at bay by tinted windows. I'm here, I think, reminding myself, right here, alive. Even though I should have known better, I can see that life misled me into a false belief that these things always happen suddenly and quickly. And it was this constant uncertainty that seemed unfair to me, even cruel. Clearly, there are worse things. Climbing into the car, I take a long last look at that enormous white stoned edifice, trying in vain to select the one window beyond which my father convulses in stressful sleep. Then I make the short drive to my mother's, a sun-filled house with warm, breezy windows, where she'll ask about my dad only through concern for me, her 25-year-old still struggling to make peace with the man, not to mention himself. and her husband Larry will fix for us a dinner fit for a king that leaves me feeling guilty for the great, delicious luxury of it. Which isn't so bad as what happens later when I head off to bed. Involuntarily, I conjure creeping to my father's hospital room to kill him. It's only a 10-minute drive to get there, through darkened streets devoid of daytime traffic. Though the Paulson Street signal stays red so long, I'm granted the terrible opportunity to reconsider. And with a murderous meticulousness that's strategic enough to scare me, I'm actually able to map out every move that will lead straight to his bedside, where I'll take control of the world in a way he never believed possible, and mercifully smother that poor man with a pillow until his shaking stops forever. Yikes, huh? You know, I'm available for parties, and, you know, I can read at, you know, any kind of social gatherings. You know, this is a gas. You know, I may seem like I'm just stressed out, but this is a gas. Thank you all so much for being part of it. So I'm going to read from the same novel another section that's actually 450 pages later. And I want desperately to fill you in on everything that has happened in those 450 pages. Clearly, I cannot do that. What I will tell you is that Raymond, the protagonist of the book, has gone away to college. He's now a sophomore. Get it, girl? Hey, Celeste. He's gone away to college, and a lot has happened. His best friend back home, who is only 3 years his senior, has died very unexpectedly. And now his father, about whom we just heard some things, has suffered a stroke and has been placed in a nursing home. So Raymond makes the trip home to visit his father in the hospital, staying with his mother. And on the way to visit his dad one day, he decides he's going to go by his best friend's old house where his best friend lived. His best friend's mom still lives there. She's divorced, and we really know very little about her, save that she's probably an alcoholic. Raymond only went to her house once when he and Craig is his friend's name, were filming a movie. Craig made 8mm movies. He wanted to be a filmmaker. And Raymond went into the house just that one time, and it looked like a tornado went through it. Mike, thank you for coming. So this is many years later. Craig has died. I guess that's all I'll say. I don't know what else to say. We'll just go with it. Driving his mom's car, I should say this. You'll notice there's a shift to third person. The novel's actually written in the third person, with the exception of the prologue and the epilogue, which are in the first person, like you just heard. The rest of the book's in third person. Driving his mom's car to visit his father, Raymond finally followed a whim he'd been fighting all week by going to Craig's house. He parked the car along the curb across the street and found it nearly impossible to believe that his friend no longer lived there, no longer lived anywhere, as everything seemed exactly the same, and he could easily imagine the two of them going into the garage to make a movie. Craig in light blue corduroys and t-shirt, hunched behind the camera tripod, and before he knew what he was doing, headed up the walk and knocked on the door, his heart beating so fast he was afraid for it. It didn't take long for Mrs. Sturgis to answer, looking nothing at all like Raymond expected, because she was nicely dressed. And when he introduced himself, she said, "I know who you are," and surprised him further by inviting him inside to that world witnessed only once before, which now bore no resemblance at all to the place in his memory.